get to that later.
We'll get there.
Everything about it.
Oh, that was so satisfying.
I love that George R. R. Martin loved the dog.
George R. R. Martin loved the dog.
That's such a cool detail.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Lore Dimension. We're talking about House of the Dragon. Episodes 3 and 4, and wow. Just wow. Saying it now, this is going to be riddled with spoilers, so if you haven't seen episodes 3 and 4, go check them out.
Go watch them.
Go cry. I did. So I think similar to last time, we're going to go through... Well...
It's a tough one with these two, because there was the not the most lore-based episodes. The end of episode 4. Yep. The rest of them, not so much. The rest of them were more sort of building story, building a bit of character background, and just adding a bit more depth to the world, I'd say.
But yeah, a lot of what happened in episodes 3 and 4 was just kind of in between events, so not a whole lot of lore to go on.
They're filling in a lot of spaces from the books.
Yes.
You'd be surprised how little of the actual storyline there's very little spoken between. It's not like the Game of Thrones books where there's character angles and perspectives and conversations. There's very little of that in this book. So they've done most of that off their own backs.
So we are going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and then I think we have a couple of things lore-esque to just chat about. So come along with us. Let's talk House of the Dragon.
Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Yeah, okay, so first thing from episode 3 was we really liked the angle of no one remembers how these battles start out in a few years' time. That was really good. And the way they played it into the Blackwood versus Bracken's rivalry later with Simon Strong saying it's been lost to the years.
No one knows how it started.
Yep.
Soon they will not even remember what it was that began the war in the first place.
I like that. And the way they sort of integrated it into the story of what's happening now with the Targaryens, what Rhaenys says to Rhaenyra. Well done. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, and she made a great point. When did it start? Did it start when Jaehaerys was killed? Did it start when Lucerys was killed? Did it start when Viserys died? Did it start when Rhaenyra was named? Where did it start?
When Aegon was born,
Yeah. Each side can have their own opinions about where it started, when it started, and blame the other side that it's their fault.
But at this point, it doesn't matter.
Sure doesn't.
They all have the part to play in it, and it's pointless trying to pretend that you're the only one that's righteous and everyone else is at fault when people are dying by the thousands. Next, we like that at first the King's Guard seemed like they were a bit disrespectful towards Kristen, the way they lounged around in the hall and they slowly get up when he walks by. But then they kind of make it apparent that they are just disrespectful idiots in general. That's it. That is what they are.
Well, one of the points we made in the last video was that the King's Guard was halved, basically. I mean, you can't really half 7, but it was diminished because the split in the family. And so to build them back up, it looks like Aegon just named his friends, who, I'll be honest, they seem useless.
They are.
I have zero confidence, and I feel like there was a moment with Aegon where he also realized he had zero confidence in them holding to their oaths and like laying their life down for him. I mean, just look at
when he says they're supposed to be celibate and they're like, a good one, and then he's like, they're like, and he just sort of goes, I like that little face he pulls where he's just like, remember your place.
10 out of 10.
He's
Aegon.
awesome.
But it's kind of funny seeing the contrast of like the Cargill twins. They both died for fighting for the side that they chose.
Yeah.
These guys would run away.
Oh god, yeah.
They don't deserve the title, they don't deserve the cloak. I mean, Kristen doesn't deserve the cloak, but that's...
Assuming they even went out to fight in the first place.
God, yeah, no.
I mean, at least in these episodes, Kristen showed why he deserves the cloak. I still hate him, but he knows he's a man who knows...
deserve the, like, purity, chastity side of the cloak.
No.
He maybe deserves the King's Hand title, but he does not deserve the cloak.
The King's Hand he definitely doesn't deserve. I think he's a better commander than he is a hand. 110%. Absolutely. You know, he showed his battle tactics in this one. He showed that he's got the ability to command and think on his feet and, you know, utilising troops that we'll get to that later.
We'll get there.
He
But
showed his worth.
I
in
still
these, I'll give
don't
him
think
that.
he deserves his white cloak.
No.
A
No,
military
he
command,
deserves
sure.
his head in a basket or on a spike, but
In a dragon's belly.
hopefully. We can't get to that yet.
We hate Kristen Cole. It's fine. So does everyone.
So next, we're making it very apparent that no one thinks Aegon's as fearsome as anyone else. Everyone just thinks he's a fool.
I'm as fearsome as any of them.
And feckless.
Feckless.
Yeah. Even his mom, just, you can see on her face the lack of faith she has in him. His brother thinks he's a joke.
Although Alicent's never had any faith in him to begin with. She's had the
Whose
High
fault
Tower,
is that?
the High Tower parenting handbook. No faith, no concern, just maneuver them to where you need them.
Manipulate them how you want.
Chess pieces are children.
Until they stop letting you.
Because they're the ones that you're trying to maneuver to get in with other houses. Build,
Oh, yeah. Alliances. I get it.
See smoke flying around chirping. Has Laenor suddenly died, maybe? We know he kind of has to. In order for a dragon's bond to be severed...
According to the lore.
According to the law. This dragon's bond has to be severed by death. There's no other way about it. Either the dragon has to die or the rider has to die. Otherwise, they are just attached to this rider. Whether or not that's relevant, we'll find out in the future. But what we do know is the way he's flying around chirping and seeming all distressed the way he is makes it seem like maybe something's happened. Because it's been years at this point
It's
that Daemon
been
and Rhaenyra
years.
have
They've
been
had
together.
children. Viserys died. Like, years.
Yep. So, see smoke all of a sudden kicking off must be for a reason.
Which, I know this isn't in the notes, but while on the topic of dragons, the sounds these dragons make.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, they're not just growling like tiger noises.
No. Carax is flying around Harrenhal. Absolutely fantastic seeing the noises he makes. The visual effects. It just looks
The
so
rain,
real.
oh, yeah.
Everything about it.
Oh, that was so satisfying.
Yeah, the rain on Daemon's armor in that scene as well.
Oh,
that,
the pinging noise.
just everything down to the tiniest little details. So well done.
Yes.
I also know that we haven't really covered the dragon seed in any of them yet because they haven't necessarily been named as such.
They
but
did touch
they
on...
are starting to piece them together.
They touched on Ulf.
We'll wait until they're all there before we talk dragon seed.
Okay.
A little side thing that we noticed since the apparent confirmation that the eggs that Rhaena takes with her are in fact Daenerys later down the line. They've now decided she takes 4 instead of 3. I'm sure one of them's supposed to hatch and fail, but it looks like they've changed it. She takes 4.
I'm just annoyed because I thought those eggs were taken by Alyssa when she fled and she used them to like bypass it or whatever to get to
They were supposed to
wherever.
be taken over already.
Decades before, I think.
Although, to be fair, there is no exact. They were the ones that they assumed were later the ones that Daenerys found.
But
It looks like now they're maybe canonising that actually they're the ones that Rhaena takes with her. Which, that's kind of fair enough. Not too mad at it. And yeah, apparently she succeeded in her job because Daenerys ends up with 3 dragons to be able to hatch later on in Song of Ice and Fire. Another thing that we also noticed sort of the second time around, I think it was, that we drew our attention to it, was the connection between Daemon and his dislike for disloyalty.
Specifically to your liege lord, no matter what condition he's in, which is
Sound
a little
familiar?
bit contradicted in episode 4, but
Kind of.
which the way he says it, it definitely feels like he's specifically talking about how he felt everything was handled after Viserys became sickly, because people just took things from Viserys and were like, no, I'll do that. No, I'm doing that. No, I'm doing that. You don't have to worry about it. Between Alicent, Otto, they didn't allow Viserys. For the most part, obviously he had moments.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they kind of took things away from him.
Well, he was just milk of the popped up all the time.
Yeah.
So he didn't really know he had decisions to be making. And yeah, I think that bothered Daemon, that no one took Viserys' word seriously. No one really even gave him a word to have. I think that had a long-lasting effect. Although, as you say, slightly hypocritical that he doesn't care that Simon Strong's quick to go. I have no support for Lord Larys whatsoever. He's your liege lord.
But he went to take Harrenhal, and he did it without harming a single person.
He did. He again, there's something to be saying for switching sides, isn't there? That's not exactly having faith and remaining loyal to your liege lord either.
To be fair, would you be loyal to Larys?
Oh God, no. Absolutely not. Just a quick little notice was Helena's forgiveness of Alicent.
Yes.
I forgive you.
Does she forgive her for, as we know, she'd often take the kids over to visit Alicent, but that didn't happen, obviously, because Alicent was busy. Was she forgiving her for not being there to help or not having the King's Guard there to keep an eye on him?
I think she was forgiving her for, one, sleeping with Kristen Cole, but then two, being the reason that he wasn't there to protect the children.
Or is she forgiving her for something that hasn't happened yet?
She does have dragon dreams.
She tends to do that. She tends to see things happening before they do, and it does lead you to wonder, is or has Alicent done something that gives a cause for forgiveness, as we find out in the next episode. Maybe if she'd have been a bit nicer to Aegon, he might not have flown off so brashly. So, maybe she's forgiven her for that. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out. If they've done it for a reason that isn't just the obvious, I forgive you for what happened with Jaehaerys.
I feel like either they'll go into it being something future, or they won't touch on it again, and it'll just fall into it being what happened before.
We'll find out.
Sir Kristen Cole's take on not wanting anyone to stay in an inn is extremely valid after their encounter in the field.
And no f***ing inns.
Yeah, I think he was pretty spot on with that.
Yes. The exchange at the end of episode 3 between Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Yeah, that was interesting. Again, nothing from the book. Absolutely nothing to do with that conversation or anything that exists, but it's such an interesting, spicy little meatball for him to throw into the mix. Because you're just like, well, now whose fault is it?
Well, that's the thing. Leading up to this, it was the misunderstanding, because obviously Rhaenyra had heard Viserys talking about the Prince Who Was Promised, the Song of Ice and Fire, the dagger, all that kind of stuff, so she knows this stuff. Had he said a damn thing to her about Aegon, the Prince Who Was Promised, she'd have been like, yes, I know. Whereas because he said it to Alicent, who had no knowledge of this, because it's a Targaryen thing passed down from heir to heir, she just assumed that he meant Aegon, their son, not Aegon the Conqueror, not, is it Jon Snow? But now having this knowledge, Alicent not doing anything about it. Well, for one, she knows she was in the wrong.
She does. But what can she do about it?
It's too late, Rhaenyra.
She's not wrong in that sense. It is too late. She can't stop anything.
It
No
is.
one's paying attention to her anymore, and I think that's why she's so angry with Aegon.
Potentially.
What's to come, because she's just like, now you've left me in a position where I can't do anything to help you. You don't listen when I try and advise you. You got rid of your granddad, which was just stupid. You've put Kristen Cole in charge, who knows very little about actually running a country. He knows how to fight and how to propose battle tactics. Being a good battle tactician for the most part, there's a certain amount of questionable advice in whether or not sending a bloke to pretend to be his twin brother is a childish prank. But, it got him the badge.
It did
Worked
do
for
that.
Aegon. I mean, Aegon's acting's just, I think Aegon's acting's going to be a thing every episode.
It's
For as long as
so
it's in it.
good. I think there's not a scene. Granted, everyone in this show is good at acting.
Yeah.
But he just
Absolutely.
stands out as it takes a really talented person to play an idiot. Or to play like a reckless, feckless
Feckless.
fool.
I'm now trying to think if there's anyone that stood out as a bad actor, and no, not at all.
No one broke the immersion.
No complaints on that one.
Right, so now we're moving on to episode 4.
The Red Dragon and the Gold.
Typically, we will watch an episode when it comes out and then rewatch both episodes before we sit down to actually talk about them, so each episode gets 2 watches. We couldn't. Completely.
We refused.
We chose not to finish rewatching the 4th episode because
I remember what happened.
I remember what happened.
I ain't going to forget that for a long time.
No. It has been a long time since a TV show has made me cry like that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, well done. You stuck to the law wholeheartedly. Almost a very slight deviation. But for the most part, you achieved the same end goal.
My tears.
But at what cost? But at what cost did you
Anyway.
follow the law? The one time I wouldn't have minded a diversion,
I just...
and you followed it. So,
Let's go.
Let's go.
Episode
Into
4.
the spoilers.
Oh, my poor heart. At the beginning of the episode, Rhaenys meets Alan.
I really like that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Especially
that-
knowing what happens at the end.
Yeah, because that must have hurt. To look at him go and realise, even going so far as to say your mother must have been beautiful. Knowing who his dad was. It shows a lot. To then not only be like, your mum must have been a beautiful woman, and then when Corlys is like, you just coming to give me hassle, and she's like, no, I'm coming to tell you should legitimise him, and he deserves more.
Not in so many words, but she said, raise him up, recognize him for what he's done, and it says something about Rhaenys that where she sits now, she believes their son is dead. So he doesn't have a true heir. I mean, Joffrey is the heir to Driftmark now?
Yeah.
And he's not actually their grandson, which is very obvious, and a child. I think she's looking at it as, I provided you an heir. You didn't make it. Give yourself a legitimate one that actually knows the tides and can do the job.
Because I said they were talking about it in episode 3 before them revealing in episode 4 what she was probably leaning into. Makes you realise she probably already knew before she saw Alan.
But also, her calm.
Yeah.
At meeting him, at talking to Corlys about it.
I really like Rhaenys. She's not perfect, but I don't understand everyone being so angry about the crowds from episode 9 of season 1.
Liked.
Yes.
Sorry.
I really liked Rhaenys. I don't care that she burst through the floor on a
Yeah.
dragon and killed
Okay,
hundreds,
come
because
on.
they were all there for the coronation of a usurper, so
Traitors,
Screw
all of
those
them.
guys.
Traitors, all of them. So, and plus,
dragon all of them.
let's be honest, when watching this, we care more about, the dogs and the dragons than we care about the people. The people are awful. We've established this.
I love that George R.R. Martin loved the dog.
George R. R. Martin loved the dog.
That's such a cool detail. But yeah, like you say, I hadn't really thought about it so deeply as the dog being there looking at cheese makes you realise that, even the worst people that have done the worst things still have someone that loves them. That poor dog he deserved to love someone so much better.
He deserved to be loved by someone so much better.
Yeah.
So, in this episode, Alicent drinks the moon tea, which is essentially fetus deletus. The same tea that she judged Rhaenyra for drinking in season 1 for sleeping with the same man. The parallel of that was so satisfying.
Yeah. And then having Laris walk in and just see it on the table and she's like...
I overindulged.
Yeah, and he's like, that is some indulgence. Yeah, no, that was good. I kind of like Laris. I hate Laris, but I like Laris's character. You know when he walks in the room, he's watching you.
Yes.
He's paying attention to
But
everything.
also, same with the scene, and I don't remember which episode it was in at this point, where he was like, Harrenhal is more crippled than I am. It's
episode 3, I think.
useless. And I control the money anyway, so...
Oh, no, in fact, no, that's episode 4.
I was gonna say, I thought it was... But, yeah, I just think it's a cool parallel showing how far Alicent has fallen from being so self-righteous and judgmental.
No, she's no better than anyone else.
Nope.
The fact that Kristen Cole went on his little trek across the lands, gathering troops and soldiers from all of the people that had sided with Rhaenyra to force them to join his army, so that he could then feed them to the first dragon that came up. What a move. What an absolute genius move.
That. Okay, but I just want to pose a question. You've been talking about his battle strategy prowess. Was it him or was it Aemond?
Who taught Aemond?
You.
Even if Aemond's evolved past Kristen Cole, he owes it to Kristen Cole.
I feel like Kristen Cole taught him fighting. I don't know so much about,
They were
that cunning.
They were sat talking strategy in the episode when Blood and Cheese appeared.
They were, but it felt more as equals.
So he's smart enough in battle strategy to equal a prince. So
That's fair.
we also harped on about how much we hate Kristen Cole. Fabian Franco, the actor, absolutely phenomenal. He does a great
He's
job.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So no hate towards you.
No.
Just think your character is a swine.
Good job playing an asshole.
Yeah, well done, dick.
Which I think it is a sign of a great actor when they're a lovely person.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
look
seems
at,
like
is it Jack?
Joffrey, Jack Gleason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a nice guy. Such a good actor that people hated him.
And apparently he's getting a new role.
Return of Joffrey?
What?
Different series. Oh, Daemon's Visions.
Yeah, I was asking if it's in the lore that he's having these visions /
Nothing.
Alice River.
Alice Rivers. Nothing that I've seen says anything about Daemon having visions, but I don't know if there's been anything. I've got the old one, and I got most of my stuff from the old one, and then various bits and bobs that I've read about over the years. I've never seen anything that said about Daemon having these visions when he's at Harrenhal, and most of what I know of Alice Rivers' story is tied into something else. It's tied into something else. So no, I didn't expect to see her at Harrenhal yet either. So curious to know how this one unfolds. It did make me wonder. Daemon's visions. He, as he's getting unsettled and feeling weird and insecure, is that affecting Caraxes? Because normally if Daemon starts to get his heckles up, Caraxes appears and starts growling at people. So, is Caraxes somewhere on the roof just like growling away at things, just like
so angry. I don't know why I'm mad, but I'm mad.
I'm just gonna chew this pillow.
Also, we love Caraxes so much.
Oh, he's my favourite. That noise he makes, I will say it 1,000 times, that noise he makes as he flies around Harrenhal is just perfect. I love all the dragons in this show. And you murdered them. You murdered one of them, anyway.
Anyway, another thing relating to Daemon that I wanted to touch on, specifically with Harrenhal. When he first lands and is wandering around Harrenhal, they take a moment, like a long moment, to focus the camera on what I assumed immediately were the roots of the weirwood tree. When they eventually do show you the weirwood tree, it's definitely believable that the roots could have gone down and out throughout Harrenhal. Which, if the weirwood tree has anything to do with his visions, whether this is canon lore already established or lore that they are establishing, I think it could have something major to do with, especially, didn't someone say his bed was made from a weirwood tree?
Yes.
He's having all these trippy visions and all this kind of stuff, which I'm so happy they brought back young Rhaenyra. Young Rhaenyra is just phenomenal. The actress Millie she did a great job, and it was so nice to see her brought back, even if it was just a little bit. But yeah, as he has these visions and he's becoming more unhinged, I'm excited to see how it unfolds and where it goes.
I'm curious to know what the following the guy, and it turns out that it was him wearing the eye patch like Aemond. I'm curious to know what angle they're leaning into with that.
Yeah.
Is it him realising that he's more like Aemond than he realised, or Aemond's sort of like another version of him, or... I'm curious. I'm very interested to know.
I do see the two as quite similar in being the second brother, kind of passed up, potentially the stronger. I say potentially. Yes. Let's be honest. They're both the stronger candidate for not being a puppet.
The better candidate for ruling with an iron fist. I don't know about ruling humbly.
Oh God, no, not humbly or potentially justly, but to have that power that no one can take away from them or manipulate them.
Although, as we've seen, they also both are willing to unburden themselves of the things that they've done, and they do feel regret for the choices that they've made in the past. Both of them, even Aemond, old One Eye, trying to pretend that he was happy to have killed Lucerys. He still admitted that he didn't mean to.
Didn't mean to.
So the visions could be a interesting thing to unravel.
I really like that aspect, and I love the memes. The memes where it's like everyone else progressing the storyline, and it's just like Daemon and Harrenhal.
Yeah. And the last little silly side note was Willem grew up. Any of you who don't know, the Lord Blackwood?
Yes.
Lord Willem Blackwood, that Daemon was meeting with when he kind of woke up from his little daze.
And against the crown.
Is the same young kid that ended up fighting in the throne room in front of Rhaenyra in season 1.
Your day shall be easy, a night safe.
Which we never really got to talk about because we never got to that episode.
No, we didn't.
But yeah, the same kid that became triumphant in the little duel in the throne room is now Lord Blackwood that's dealing with Daemon, so that should be fun.
He made it to adulthood.
He growed up. And
more than Luke can say.
And he survived the Blackwood-Bracken rivalry. So,
he did. Hey.
So, the main focus of lore of these 2 episodes was the Battle of Rook's Rest. As we said, stuck very true to the lore for the most part. Slight variation here and there, but they ended up in pretty much the same place, which was Rhaenys flying out on Meleys to meet the army that were riding up to Rook's Rest in order to siege the castle. Upon doing so, a trap was sprung by, in the lore, Aemond and Aegon were ready and waiting to spring it, but in the show version, Aegon got butthurt and decided to fly out drunk and woohoo himself into a first place ass whooping. The Aemond then had to fly in and save him, execute him.
Let me save you.
Question mark. Aemond came in and put an end to Aegon and Rhaenys' little battle, let's say that. And then Rhaenys, very admirably, just strapped herself into Melee's, gave her a last little scratch on the neck, turned around to Nanny Vhagar.
I have such conflicting feelings about this because Melee's deserved better, but at least Rhaenys was committed to, what happens to her dragon happens to her, so there was no bailing at the last minute trying to, aim for the bushes or the pond or whatever.
Aim for the bushes.
No, she was in it to the end with her dragon. And that is the part that made me cry, is because they...
The way Melee's turned around and looked at her almost to apologise and say goodbye, it was very...
And then just the light in her eye faded.
It was amazingly well done, but wow.
I have so much more emotion.
What a heart-wrenching moment.
I'm so much more emotionally connected to the animals in this show than I am the people.
You're doing great.
I'm doing the best.
She's doing great. So yeah, very sad for that. Sunfire, still breathing. Looks like it, so Sunfire should be okay. I'm not going to go into anything lore-wise ahead of now. So as for Aegon, Sunfire, future appearances, you're going to have to wait and see. Anyone who's seen the trailer thing for next week will know a little bit. I'm not going to say anything just in case.
Also, with Aegon and Sunfire, nothing future, just their history. So Sunfire has been known to be one of the fiercer dragons. He's small, but he's vicious. But Sunfire was devoted to Aegon, and I genuinely think it's the only truly good, loving relationship he's ever had.
Yeah, I think Aegon thinks that Sunfire is probably the only creature in the world that loves him.
Unconditionally, at the very least.
Yeah.
Alicent loves him. I think Otto loves him. I think Aemond loves him, each in their own way. But they all are terrible at showing it, whereas Sunfire has that unwavering loyalty, and they have that,
They have the dragon bond, don't they? So
they have the dragon bond.
He's human. He's like a big dog.
I want a little dragon.
I want a big dragon. I want a Nana Vhagar.
We couldn't afford
That
to
way it's
feed
not
it.
going to get chomped by another dragon. Vhagar just keeps ruining the episodes. I blame Vhagar for all of them.
It's Vhagar's fault.
Oh, Nana Vhagar.
Justice for Melee's. So, yeah. Essentially, episode 4 ended with me sobbing in my husband's lap.
Yep.
Which to say, it's a CGI dragon.
Yep.
And I am more upset about this dragon than anyone.
We'll be honest, we actually let ourselves watch the behind the scenes after this one just to remind ourselves that the dragon wasn't real.
Yes. And it is such a shame. Just one thing. It is such a shame that Eve Best, the actress who plays Rhaenys, she does not watch anything that she's in, so she's not seen any of this.
I hope she watches. Even if she doesn't watch the rest of it, I hope she watches this episode.
Allegedly, she's seen clips when she's done ADR, so additional dialogue recording. Other than that, she won't go and watch the episodes, which I understand. But at the same time, she deserves to appreciate all the hard work she put. It's amazing. She did so well. And I'm sad to see her go. She did great.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because again, it's not that you don't care that Rhaenys died. It's just you care more that Melee's died.
Yes.
Rhaenys made the choice. Melee's just flew by her side. Under her side.
Under her side. That was a hard one to watch, admittedly. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Most of it.
I know some of what's to come, and
people were awful.
I mean, that's true in any universe.
Fair. So that's it for episode 3 and 4, I think. Eventful.
Yes.
Very world building. Not a lot of lore to go
Heavy.
off, but what they did well, they did very well. They escalated everything well. They filled in all the gaps that the book didn't really answer the questions to, and yeah, they just smashing it out of the park so far.
Amazing.
absolutely awesome.
If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We hope you liked our little discussion on episodes 3 and 4 of House of the Dragon. If you did, make sure to go down and like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we post.
Feel free to leave us a comment, let us know what you think, any of your thoughts and theories on what's to come next.
Yes.
I always like knowing other people's theories.
Absolutely. And
We'll see you on the next one.